All right, hi you guys. Today we are going to talk about how to format dialogue. I'm guessing that pretty much all of you should be using dialogue in your stories that you're going to be writing for To Kill a Mockingbird. And formatting it correctly is not hard. You just need to double check to make sure that you're paying attention to some of these details. So make sure that you watch this video, rewatch it if you need to, write some dialogue, and then watch it again. Because, like I said, it's not hard if you know how. All right, number one, put quotation marks around what was said. Super easy. Just anything that's said, whether it's long or short. I'm tired, said everyone. If it is said by someone, it should be in quotation marks. If someone is thinking something, then it should still be in quotation marks unless you're going to intentionally format all of the things that are thought in like italics or something like that. But otherwise, quotation marks around anything that is said. Number two, dialogue tags. Dialogue tags are the I said, she thought, he said, we wished, things like that. That little section that comes before or after your quote. Okay. Dialogue tags have to be separated with a comma. Okay. So if it comes before the quote or after the quote, you still need a comma between the quote and your dialogue tag. It just depends where it goes. It always gets connected to the thing before. Pay attention that it goes inside the quote. We'll talk about that again in a second. The exception to this idea of it has to be separated with a comma are things like question marks. So if you say, "How are you today?" asked Scout, then you have a different punctuation mark already separating your dialogue tag from the actual quote, and so you don't put a comma. If you have Scout asked, comma, "How are you today?" then you still need a comma because there's nothing separating that quote from that dialogue tag other than that. All right, another exception is simply if you do not have a dialogue tag. So sometimes you have Scout asked, "How are you today?" and you could just say fine. So let's say that you have set up as we walked down the street, Scout began to talk my ear off. Let's say she's talking to Jim, okay? And this is how it's formatted. As we walked down the street, Scout began to talk my ear off. "How are you today?" Fine. You know that whoever's responding is the I in your story. If it's ever not clear, you can always just add a dialogue tag, and that is totally fine. It's just sometimes unnecessary. And if you're having a conversation that just is going back and forth and back and forth, sometimes having dialogue tags all the time to be like, "How are you today?" she said. "Fine," he said. "That's awesome," she said. "I know," he said. Like, it gets a little bit wordy. So if you're ever unclear, use it. If you have a back and forth between two people, it's pretty clear. Okay. Our next one. Yay, punctuation. Oops, don't look at that one yet. All right. Always put the punctuation, the ending punctuation mark inside the quotation mark. So if you have this sentence up here, you have, "I'm thinking about penguins, comma," Benedict said, "but I'm not sure what I should color mine." I guess he's talking about a coloring sheet. I wrote this sentence and I'm not even sure what it's talking about. That's where we are at right now. So you could also have a sentence that says, "Hello." Or you guys might get confused about this because we've had sentences like, and then in this case, because you have a citation, because you are quoting it from a different source, you put the punctuation at the end. When you are writing dialogue, that is not how you do it. When you're writing dialogue, you are creating all of the stuff inside the quotes, so you don't need to cite it. This is one reason why it's really important to follow directions when you are citing and stuff like that, because the way you use your punctuation literally means different things. So punctuation goes on the inside of the quote. Even if you don't have a dialogue tag, you just put your period or your exclamation point or your question mark or any of those in there inside the quote. Please, please, please do not do this. That is a huge no-no. All right, the next one that kept wanting to pop up there. Start a new paragraph whenever the speaker changes or whenever you switch from general description to dialogue. If your description relates to the closest speaker, you may choose to keep that in the same paragraph. That was a lot of instructions. Let's break it down. So, indent for your paragraph. Today, let's not write in bold. That's going to get annoying. Today was very sunny. Period. I made waffles. I walked my dog in the park where we met an old lady who had some cats. Okay, so we've set the scene, sort of. And now we're going to get into some dialogue. And so I'm going to indent and give a new paragraph, and I'm going to say, "Hello there, young man," said the landlady. This is happening. I don't know. Hello, I replied. All right, so let's look at what's going on. So we have a correctly punctuated sentence right here, but because it has a dialogue tag, we put a comma instead of a period. We have a said the landlady. Hello, I replied. Instead of using a comma, we chose an exclamation point, so we don't need a comma right there. Now, instead of, we have a choice here, because I could say, I replied, as we talked, I noticed her rummaging around in her bag. She pulled out a thermos. Okay. Now, this, because it's still sort of talking about our narrator's perspective, we could keep it as part of that same paragraph, or we could make the artistic decision to break the paragraph there. So when you are formatting your dialogue, sometimes there are rules you have to follow, but sometimes you can kind of choose how closely you want some of this stuff connected, okay? We're going to, let me see, is there anything else in this instructions that I want to cover for here? No. All right, so now we're going to jump down to this example here. I have written a mess of a paragraph here. So this is written as if I was following your assignment and I was writing about the scene of when they shoot Tim Johnson from Jem's perspective, okay? So we're going to go through and we are going to fix the punctuation here. First of all, we have a hello, which should probably be in quotes. Also, I'm guessing that's the beginning of our thing, so here we go. Dill said to me, hello, Dill said to me. We know who's talking. As they walked, so we know that Jem, our narrator, is probably with Scout and Dill, walked, the wind blew the leaves off the nearby oak tree. Ah, come on, said Scout. Somebody new is talking, so we are going to create another line. Also, here, you didn't see that very well. It's the end of that quote, so I need a comma and an end quote. Ah, come on, said Scout. I'm right here. So that seems to be her still talking. You could at least say hi to me too. And then we stop right here, okay? So I want you to notice this. We have a period right here, okay? Akman said Scout. We can use a period here because what starts this next sentence is a complete sentence. So Akman said Scout, I'm right here. By keeping it in the same line, we know that it's still her talking, okay? I'm right here. You could at least say hi to me too. Dill looked at his shoes contritely. That means kind of remorsefully. and began kicking a rock down the street. We were just beginning to pass by Miss Maudie's when we heard a barking behind us. I turned to see Mr. Harry Johnson's dog, Tim. Oh, for introducing him. Tim meandering down the street. Hold up, I told Scout. So Jem starts talking here, so we need some quotes. I told Scout and Dill. Now, here we could either have a paragraph break or not. It's kind of up to you. And something that might help you determine whether you want to break a paragraph is the feeling of it. Okay. When we get into fiction, we get to start thinking about the feeling of writing. So by breaking this paragraph, it emphasizes this as a very like sharp moment. Hold up, I told Scout and Dill. And then there's that pause when you break the paragraph. So personally, I would break it. You don't have to. Scout tried to yell, but I told her to hush. I stared at the dog. Something didn't seem right. Then I grabbed Dill's arm and Scout's hand and rushed him back to our front porch. Also, you're allowed to do stuff like that if you do it intentionally because you are writing like Harper Lee. Well, you're writing like Jem, okay? We could still see Tim Johnson walking down the street, quieter than any dog should be. Cal, I yelled. Hollered, Cal, come here. And then here, I would also probably break this paragraph. It's all told from Jem's perspective. So you could kind of play with that one, but I would probably do it like this. All right, so that is kind of a brief overview how to format dialogue. Please let me know if you still have questions. Formatting dialogue it's not complicated, but it definitely can be confusing. So let me know if anything is still confusing. You can email me, leave a comment, things like that. All right, you guys are doing awesome. Hang in there.